She's a BAFTA winner, Olivier Award winner, Oscar-nominated actor. You'll remember her as the chain-smoking loyal Fiona in 4 Weddings. Or Catherine Clifton in The English Patient, or perhaps starring alongside Robert Redford in The Horse Whisperer. My guest today has had an incredible acting career, starring on screen and stage. But a lot of people probably don't realise that she's had a parallel career in French cinema and television. Why not? It's a second language after all. Most recently, she's played the ruthlessly ambitious deputy head of MI5, Diana Taverner, alongside Gary Oldman in Slow Horses. It's yet another in a long line of strong, independent women. And boy, she's definitely one in real life. She is Kristin Scott Thomas.
There's something about genius that is incredibly, it is awe-inspiring. You do slightly sit back, saying, how can this man be so unbelievably talented? As actors, you really do need to stop for a bit and just have a bit of life. If your everyday job is going in 5 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, you're going and you're pretending you're someone else, then it just gets a bit sort of exhausting. It's like what you were saying earlier.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I worked very hard to do this.
I worked hard for that, and I deserve it, really.
That is success. And it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks.
This is the Lulu Podcast, and in this episode, we discuss the big turning points in Kristin's life. Moving to France, working with Prince, her fear of being typecast, and how she still gets the old feelings of inadequacy that are associated with imposter syndrome. Today on Turning Points, I'm speaking with Kristin Scott Thomas. First of all, we actually met out there in that garden because of our dogs.
Yeah, and the fence.
Oh,
admiring each other's fences and what have you got in there? That's nice growing.
Yeah. And I must say, before I met you, I was slightly terrified is a bit strong. I was a bit nervous.
Good.
I was a bit nervous of meeting you because I think I wanted you to like me. That's part of it, And I think it's probably, I'm just, thinking, why would I be worried about it? Well, when you want someone to like you, you're slightly nervous. You want to be on your best behavior, Miss Perfect. And then I think the other thing is possibly because you speak beautifully.
Oh, I know, that terrible, what do they call it? Cut glass or something.
Yeah, I would say King's English. Used to say Queen's English, King's English. Yeah. And I don't know, my accent changes from minute to minute. I could join you, I could start imitating you to be.
That's because you've got an ear. And so
it's also
kind of hones in on other people.
It's true.
And you want to join in and fit in.
I don't want to be different most of the time.
I know.
And I think also maybe, I don't know, you've got that sort of magnificent sort of
that you're imitating.
Aquiline nose, haughty.
Haughty?
You're haughty. To look at.
Do you know, that's so funny.
To look at.
Because when I was really young, when I was a young student at drama school, I wasn't even at drama school. I was doing anyway, whatever. I was a very young actress, and I was so shy that I just sort of kept myself to myself and didn't speak to anybody. And then somebody said, "Why are you wandering around the corridors looking so snooty?" I'm not. I'm just trying to be
contained, and not make a fuss.
Exactly, not make a fuss and not be noticed.
Isn't it interesting? Now you see, I was a child. I'm still anxious. That's why I talk too much. So you see how you weren't quiet. I would talk too much, and because my mother, it's ingrained how my mother would say, "You've got to smile at people. It's important to smile." So I walk about looking happy, clappy all the time, and of course, I'm not happy, clappy all the time. I'm like most people, I get my moods. But it's interesting how two different people would is it a protection?
Yeah, use the same sort of techniques, but in different ways.
Different ways
of fitting in and blending in and not being noticed and not sticking out and not drawing attention and then of course sometimes you do want attention, and that's why we do what we do. because we love it. But in real life, there's a sort of, you want to kind of just be in the background.
But it's interesting that was my perception of you, because it's completely changed now. You are warm, you're funny, you hang, it's just fascinating. You see, now people will say, oh, does that mean you're a miserable old... That happy clappy Lulu is a total lie.
No.
But it's a part of us. And I was wondering, because I had this impression that it completely shattered it when I met you with our dogs, and we've got to know each other a little bit, over the past few years because we're neighbors. But do others have that? I mean, like in your business, like in the acting world, do you think it's...
Well, I think they must do, because of the kind of parts I get given in this country. It's really strange. So in England, I get all these sort of tough,
aristocrats,
wicked women. Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes just really mean and tough, like the woman I'm playing at the moment with Slow Horses, because she's so ruthless.
Yes.
So I think that must have.
Yes.
But in France, I don't get those parts.
What parts then do you get in France? How would you describe them?
I get much more fragile people with people with sort of passion and people, completely different.
Well, when I saw you in the Lioness.
Lioness,
right?
Lioness,
with
Lily
Lily,
James.
yeah. My sister and I loved it. We loved it. But you were just completely crazy. You were nothing like any of the parts I've actually seen you play in this country, because I'm sorry to say I haven't seen your French work.
Well, you didn't sit down last night and watch all my films.
I actually watched Slow Horses, which I love.
It's so good, isn't it?
Oh my God, it gets better and better and better. And I see you as a strong, very strong woman. Are you?
Yeah, I think battle scarred. I think is I think
I'm going to steal that battle scarred.
You have to be quite tough to be an actor.
I think so,
because it's so much rejection. You really learn how to take rejection as an actor, because you're constantly being
judged,
literally judged. Yeah. Judged for the way you speak, judged for the way you hold yourself, judged for the light, how the light falls on your face, for whether you're pretty enough, whether you're clever, constantly being
and actually
assessed.
Both young women working and growing up in a male world, you have to be strong. I think, does it toughen you up to continue to do this work? When you start, you don't know anything. You have to then all of a sudden have experiences that possibly, like you just mentioned, being turned down. You wanted that part and they used somebody else. Is that what toughens us up?
I think it. I hesitate to. I know I used the word tough before, but I'm not. I think you just learn to duck and dive. You learn to avoid the hurt. You learn to know where to put your energy, and you know where to put your your everything you want. You have to be able to sort of funnel that into the right
and also
place.
Compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Would you say you've been typecast too often?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think that has to do with your
I think it has to do with this,
your cheekbones,
with the beak, and
your aquiline nose, and talking posh. 100%, I would say. Because look at the impression I got from you, and I don't think casting directors or directors are extra smart in that area. Some of them are brilliant at choosing people who are different. I think
they're pretty good, actually. I think they can sort of
judge.
I think they can sort of see what people can kind of eke out. Yes, I do. I think some of them are. The good ones are.
The good ones are. Yes, of course.
But it is frustrating to be always given the sort of mean older. I don't like the mean older woman thing.
And now you see, I don't look at you like that. That's interesting that you see. That's who you're playing.
But I don't like it because I don't like the idea that an older woman has to be mean.
But let's go back to what I think everything begins in our childhood. You see, let's go back. What was your childhood like, and how did it influence you?
Well, my childhood, I thought, was pretty happy, but people keep telling me it was tragic. So,
Everybody knows better, don't they? Everybody knows better.
but to be, it was not an ordinary childhood in that we suffered from enormous loss. So basically, my mother had 3 little girls and was pregnant, and her husband was killed. He was a pilot in the Royal Navy, and he was killed in a air crash. And so then she had the baby she was carrying, my brother, and very quickly met another. I mean, I cannot emphasize how absolutely sort of exquisite she was. And she had all these little children, and she must have been incredibly sort of tempting to go and rescue this poor woman who was widowed at 28 or something.
28?
With all these children, all these little tiny children. Anyway, another pilot
And she was
swooped in.
you look like your mother, do you?
I look quite like my father. Weird. I think eldest girls always look like their fathers, but people will say I do look like her. Anyway, she then met this other pilot who another pilot who sort of swooped in and
swept her
off her feet. They had another child, and then he was killed.
Now that's what people are talking about when they say your life was tragic.
Yeah.
I get it.
So in 1966, she lost her first husband. And then in 1972, in January 1972, she lost her second husband.
I don't know how.
She was
I would
on
like
her
to know
own with 5 children.
5 children?
So I was at boarding school. My sister was at boarding school because he was in the Navy. So because they travelled around a lot, the Navy would put you into a boarding school. And then, everything fell apart. And we were supposed to leave school. She fought tooth and nail to keep us in these schools.
Because it's expensive.
It's super expensive. But the schools were really, they really helped us, and other people chipped in. I mean, it was a sort of, a village type thing. It takes a village.
That's a nice thing to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it was great. And I mean, I'm amazed how she managed, really.
How did you manage?
Well,
how do you think it affected you? I mean, really, looking back.
I am who I am because of those events.
Right.
And I think that had those events not happened, I might not even be an actress. I think I discovered this. I was doing Electra. So Electra is the story of a little girl who wants revenge on her father's murder. And so she's completely obsessed with her father. And until I played that part, I was 52. And when I played that part, I realized something which is so clear, that actually telling people how it feels to be devastated while keeping a smile on your face, or not keeping a smile, but keeping yourself together, because I didn't do smiles on my face. I'm not like you, but I did other things.
Trained.
I did a kind of keep it all together, keep quiet, keep it there, and just you can be a bit prickly, because then people won't sort of be too inquisitive or something. Anyway,
so you think you were that way? That was your protection, in other words.
Well, I think it might have been. Yeah, it's sort of better to be prickly rather than be prickled.
That's what you. That was your thinking.
That was my thinking.
That's so interesting.
But I discovered all these roles, like Fiona in 4 Weddings and a Funeral. She's in love with a man. She's got this enormous hidden sadness. The English Patient, secret love affair.
Yes.
All this sort of playing that tragedy was my sort of battery, if you like. That it was a sort of something that I could use to communicate sadness, and I wanted people to kind of know and truthfulness. I wanted people to understand what it feels like to not be able to express sadness. And then when I did Electra, it was all about that sadness. It was all about that. And it just sort of got it off my chest. I never want to do another one in my life.
So I would say, because this podcast is called Turning Points.
Yes.
I want to ask people what are turning points.
Yes.
Would you say that was a huge
That was
turning
a
point?
massive turning point.
Massive,
Yeah.
I would say.
But I mean, that's towards the end of. I mean, it was a
No, but it's the
a
fact
very long drive to get there.
yes, the actual loss,
Yeah.
nurtured in you. That was your huge turning point. That tragedy.
That was a huge that the beginning of that. Yeah, I think the second loss, if you like, was very difficult and quite damaging. And I think the first one, you sort of absorb it and you're still growing, you know. But when you're 11, to have that happen again, that was really, really, really.
That was
difficult.
like pushing the point.
Yeah, no,
if you
it's like being whacked again, you know, and that sort of made me very unhappy. But you in those days, it was the 1970s, the early 70s. There wasn't really a place where you could go and say, look, I'm really, really sad. What do I do?
I didn't even know how to express my
No,
feelings. So there you
yeah,
are.
yeah.
Not until way later, the late 80s
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But that's great as far as I can tell. That's fodder
Yeah.
for acting.
Well, I think so. So my sister, for example, my sister,
She's an actress.
She has been an actress. Now she does other things, but she does a bit of acting from time to time. She did a completely different way. I mean, I went sort of inwards, and she went completely like
Out.
always getting into trouble at school. I was really goody two shoes at school. I wouldn't do anything wrong. I was sort of, you know, lurk in the back of the corner and never open my mouth. But she was always getting into trouble. She was, you know, so
That's how
we had a
she
completely
reacted.
different way of reacting to these things.
But it's fascinating, all of that about, you know, that's how your childhood, that's how and that motivated you. And you say the turning point was made you into an actress. What made you decide to be an actress at such a young age?
Well, I wanted to be an actress since I was 4.
Since you were 4. What happened when you were 4?
I'll tell you exactly. I remember the logical thinking of a 4-year-old. So I had been brought up by my father as a Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I knew about death, aged 4, was Jesus on the cross. And Jesus dies in a certain way on his cross. He has his arms outstretched and his feet neatly placed one over the other. I was in the garden playing. This is what that for death for me was Jesus on the cross.
That was it.
That was it. Hadn't had any other experiences with it. And then we were playing Cowboys and Indians, and I got shot. And I fell to the ground. And as I was falling, I was saying, quick, get your arms out, get your feet in place.
You thought Jesus.
I thought, Jesus, I must die like
Jesus.
like death is. And then I lay there and thinking, hang on a minute. No, that's not how it works. If someone shoots you, then you just collapse, you crumple. And from then on, I started getting really interested in watching what people did. And how they do things, and how ladies buy things in shops, and how
You became a mimic.
I became a little mimic.
Yes.
And I loved all of that. I thought it was just really interesting seeing how things are done.
Ha. See, I think with singing, with music takes me to another place.
Yes.
Because I was incredibly anxious. Nobody knew. They thought I was just jumpy and, you know, paid attention and jumped to attention and, you know, all that kind of thing. And they thought I was smart, but I was, you know, protecting myself. And that, because I was terribly anxious, and I couldn't say, who knew the word anxious then? I didn't know the word anxious. Music would take me to another place. Is this what acting did for you? Because I was in a lot of pain and I didn't know. I thought this was just how life was.
Yeah, acting was definitely
Escape, sort of.
escape sort of thing, and I just wanted to be a performer. I think, and that is the way I found to, and that, you know, consequently after having got myself a little niche as an actress, that is the way I channeled my enormous sadness and the things that I could express easily and share with others without saying, oh, poor me, poor me.
That's what I feel. See, I feel artists are that way. Oh, you, for God's sake, worked with Prince.
Yes, I did.
I mean, as a musician,
I know.
as an artist, there is not many people. that are as brilliant. How was that? He picked you. He picked you. He could have had anybody. I mean, I would imagine. And it was his directorial debut.
Well, he wasn't meant to be directing. It was someone else who was directing.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, I think he just didn't like the way it was going, so he decided he'd take over.
And he did you audition for him?
Yeah, I auditioned, but I auditioned for a very small part in his film, because it was a film that he was making about two American singers who go down to the Riviera in the south of France, and there's a love story, and the love story was a supposedly French woman who needed girlfriends, and so I was going up for part of one of the girlfriends, because of course, because it was shooting in France, they wanted local actresses who spoke English, so I was perfect. I fitted the bill. I walk in, I do my audition for the girlfriend. Oh, you look great, Mary, or whatever. and then
he saw you and he heard you, and then he was like, "That's it."
A huddle behind the camera. She's great. And then he wasn't in the room. They said, "You've got to look at this girl." And that evening, I it was before mobile phones, for heaven's sake. And I got home, listened to my answering machine. You've got to call back. You've got to call this number back, because they want you to come in this evening. Do you want to meet Prince? Do I want to meet Prince?
Are you having a laugh?
I mean, it was totally surreal.
I never met him.
It was,
and I loved him.
Wildest moment. That was a wild moment of my life.
So tell me more, girlfriend.
Well, because it was so unexpected.
Yes.
It was so. I had literally, when I went up for that audition, I'd come from the countryside in France, where I was doing a Marguerite Duras play in a field.
Oh my goodness!
For art.
And of course, darling.
I just got
arty-farty.
No, but it was fantastic, and I got my first ever review, and it was absolutely. It's the best one I've ever had. It was extraordinary.
Did they see that?
I don't know who it was, but they saw it. It was in the national newspaper.
And you were how
They said
old?
I was a
20?
Madonna in the thing. I was 23. And I get back, I drive back with, proud of my clutching this piece of paper with this thing printed on it.
Put it on your forehead.
Yes, exactly. Put it on my forehead. I get called in to this audition. I do the audition, as I said, and then I get called back, and I go back to this really beautiful hotel in Paris, and it was all incredibly grand, and this beautiful shiny floor, and everything was sort of gold, and my eyes
chandeliers.
I'd never been in a hotel in my life before.
No.
Never gone through a hotel.
20, how old?
23.
3.
Well, why would you? I lived in the country, and then I get there, and then suddenly he appears, dressed in green brocade, like a sort of 18th century.
Yes.
Those sort of amazing
yes.
things. All he needed was a cane, really.
Yes.
And with his managers around him, and we all sat down and had a really quite stilted dinner, and then he just gave me the job. And the next day I was being flown down first class.
Oh my God. So would you call that a turning point?
That was a huge turning point. I mean, basically my whole life has been a series of zigzags.
Yes.
It really has. It's been going from one extreme to the other, really. But that was the most extraordinary experience, because I was obviously at that time, it was 1983 or 4, I can't remember exactly. And it was peak Prince. It was Around the World in a Day.
Kiss came after that film.
Yes, it did. That was a song in the
Kiss.
That was the song from the film. Yeah, the album Parade, and it was just extraordinary to be working with someone with who I was completely in awe of anyway.
Were you nervous? Were you nervous?
Yes, of course, I was terribly nervous. But then that all disappeared, because we were both 20-something. Except for there's something about genius that is incredibly. I mean, it is awe-inspiring. I mean, you do slightly sit back, saying, how can this man be so unbelievably talented?
Clever.
And clever.
I know.
No, what was really extraordinary is to know that you are in the sort of presence of such enormous talent. And it was sort of fizzing. It was just amazing.
And you were talking about fawning. Did you mention fawning
but
people?
then what happened is that I saw how, I mean, he did a lot of sort of recording while we were making the film, and so all his musicians would come in, and they were a completely different breed from the
anyone you'd ever seen before.
yeah, I mean, totally different people.
Like gypsies, like musical gypsies.
Yeah, and then these sort of really geeky looking girls would turn up and do all these things.
Play incredibly well.
And it was just not how you imagine. Again, not how I imagined. It was so much hard work, so much dedication, and so much, I mean, basically just so much talent. I mean, that was amazing. But then what happened was that you could see how people were kind of gathering around that and profiting from it, even though they didn't have the talent, but they had the other talent of monetizing all of that and making it into something else.
You mean the business
side. And
because the musicians, I think, would learn from each other and grow from it.
The musicians are completely different, but there was this other whole thing going on. There's like
managers, agents, sort of, PR people.
Yeah, a whole thing that I had absolutely no idea about.
This was all new to you.
Totally new. I mean, I barely had an agent. And
you were thrown in the deep end.
I was totally thrown in the deep end. And not only for acting purposes, but for the sort of world purposes. I was thrown in the deep end.
And was he gentle and kind? Was he considerate?
No, he was completely. Yeah, but we were kids. I mean, we were 23.
But it was his film, and he was in charge of the whole thing.
He was in charge of the whole thing, which was kind of mad. But then you'd get the prince that was sort of who should be obeyed. You'd get him,
yes,
with everybody rushing around trying to make sure he keeps happy and the rest of it. And then you get the other side, which is a playful kind of just a lad, basically, a guy,
a young boy,
and they'd play basketball and they'd make silly jokes and we just sort of lounge about watching films, eating popcorn.
So
there was that. Is there
another turning point in your life you want to talk about?
There's a huge turning point in my life, which was the death of my father and my stepfather, and then the career thing, the Prince turning point. But there again, I said earlier that my life was in zigzags. My career was in zigzags.
Yes.
So I do the Prince film. Yeah. It is a disaster.
It wasn't one of his greatest moments.
Having had the best review of my life,
just before,
yes, with the muddy play,
one,
with the muddy play.
Yeah.
I then get the worst review of my life. I think it was it was either the Boston Globe or something, said that I was more effective for insomnia than a glass of warmed milk. And that has stuck with me.
You'll never forget it, will you?
Never.
There could be 5 million fabulous reviews, but that's the one that sticks in your mind. You can't remember what the others said.
Yeah, but I quite like the formula. Anyway, so that happened, and then I couldn't get a job. And then I decided and I went to America, and that was a disaster because it was useless in Los Angeles, and I just didn't.
You were new to it, really.
I just didn't. And they said, well, what about a manager? And I go, well, oh, what?
Yes.
What about an agent? Oh, a publicist.
What is that?
What does that
mean?
Do? What do they do? And so I went back to France and started again.
I used to express myself through my music. And what I'm getting from you is you expressed yourself through your work.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that accurate, would you say?
Totally
pretty
accurate,
close.
Yeah. But also being very aware of the kind of being very aware and slightly sort of worried that people would find out too much about it. The imposter syndrome.
What I used to think, not so much now because I've worked on it, if they really know me, they won't like me.
If they really know me, they're going to chuck me off this job immediately.
Yeah, I mean, and what was there about me that was so absolutely awful that people should know? Not a lot, really. Not a lot. I found myself more interesting than anybody ever did. But there's that imposter syndrome, I think I'm 76 now, and now I've learned to say to myself when I get some sort of success or I get a compliment from someone rather than just kind of brush it off and be embarrassed, which I used to.
Welcome it.
Welcome it and
nice
say,
feeling, isn't it?
Thank you. I've worked hard for this. Do you got
to
that point?
I've learned to accept those things.
Your success.
Better. Yeah.
Your success.
Yeah. rather than think, oh, no, it's all a sham, it's all a fraud.
And I better keep working because haven't got there yet. I mean, I'm still waiting to be discovered.
I know the feeling, by the way.
What is that? And of course, you know, the thing about, I think today it is better because there was for instance, I'll tell you, a turning point for me was when I was about 40. I said, fuck it. I'm going to say no. Because I always said yes to everything. Yes, yes, yes. Were you ever like that?
Yes, it's that is one of my weaknesses. Is I tend to allow myself to sort of be buffeted along by other people's desires. Really, you know what they want me to do, and I have to really kind of regroup and get a grip and say no, I cannot do that. But then you get into it's quite difficult to resist getting into just saying no as a sort of default response to everything.
as a trigger, or a
but then
knee-jerk.
Sometimes I think that we as actors, and I don't know about in other performing arts, but as actors, you really do need to stop for a bit and just have a bit of life. Because if you're always just pretending to be someone else, and if your everyday job is going in 5 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, you're going and you're pretending you're someone else, and then working everything else in your day is geared towards that thing, then it just gets a bit sort of exhausting. And I think you really do have to take time out.
Well, I haven't got much time to go. See, that's where my head goes.
You're going to panic.
That's my head. No, I haven't got a lot of time. We've got to get on with this. But what about the other thing where, for instance, in relationships, I have lost myself. Do you like kind of lost my own identity a bit?
Yeah.
I know because I was Lulu and then I was Mrs. Gib and then I was Mrs. Frida. I tended to, because I think of what my old idea of having a relationship or a marriage is, that it's forever happy. And there's a white picket fence and everything is wonderful once you find the man. Now I know that that's not necessarily true. You're lucky if you do. And you're even luckier if you find a couple that you have a wonderful time with for a certain amount of time. But do you have that thing where you lose yourself in a relationship, in a man?
Well, I have. I mean, I think that in my first marriage, I think that we were very young when we met. We were
I know
21.
That. Right.
And we built this thing together, this family and this life that we had, which was very, very successful on both counts. We were both very successful people. And I think that somewhere along the line, you do think, well...
Khalil Gibran says that healthy relationship, this is not his words, by the way, it's my words, my interpretation, is that like two very strong trees that are growing, and they grow side by side, but one does not overshadow the other. I would, and it's part of my spiritual journey anyway, that I want to merge.
Yes, and I think that was probably part of my problem as well, is I felt that I could only exist via...
Through this person.
Through this person and through the family. I knew that I was being sort of hyped up to watch, because they were saying, oh, she has it all. She has a sort of wonderful husband and children and a career. And when somebody says you've got it all, they're just waiting to be able to say, oh, what a disaster. So, I mean, I was kind of braced for that. But I'm incredibly good friends with the father of my children.
Because he is the father of your children.
He's the father of my children. And he, I'm incredibly fond of him, and he's a brilliant man, and I'm so glad that he is the father of my children.
Have you changed?
I have changed a bit, I think.
That's what I'm interested in.
And I think, I recognize that part of my life as something very precious and wonderful and with its ups and downs and the rest of it, but
of course,
but that incredibly important, and it also corresponds with my French life. And now,
what do you mean it corresponds with your French life?
Well, because it was I moved to France. I made my life in France from the age of 18. I stayed there for 42 years. Yeah. I've only just sort of arrived in England, really. But little by little, there's this extraordinary pull grown
Been
back
drawn.
into England.
You've
And
been
now, of course,
somehow-
then I met an Englishman, and that was that.
And then you met John.
Then I met John.
My-
So all my plan to sort of sell up and move to the countryside in France was completely scuppered. Because my grand idea was to do theatre in London because it's the best in the world, and French films.
Films.
What more do you want?
And theatre in London.
Now I've ended up making British television, so who knows?
Oh, it's a
Who knows?
classic.
I know.
This is
good?
I mean, how lucky do you feel? I mean, is that a
Immensely
typecast? Do you think you're typecast
Yes.
in this film?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope I'm nothing like the character.
No, you're not. I can vouch for that.
Mind you, I can put it on from time to time.
As always, it's lovely to see you, darling.
Lovely to
and
see you too.
We'll say hi to Pickle.
Yeah, I will.
Your little doggy, and Fudge has enjoyed you. Look how much he's enjoyed us
He was
chatting.
very sweet when
He's totally asleep.
Yeah. And I'll trot off across the garden.
Trot off, and I'll see you later.
It's quite muddy out there. You have to watch it.
I know.
Get your boots.
Yeah.
All right, lots of love.
When we first met walking our dogs, I was in awe of Kristin. I'm still in awe of her today, but for different reasons. Yes, she had some breaks and landed well, but you really have to have the talent to underpin it. And she's been thinking like an actor since she was a toddler, watching how the adults did it. I like the fact she's learnt to deal with those chronic feelings of imposter syndrome that many people have. And she now actually loves the challenge of creating or doing something new, something different. Now, as ever, I'll put everything we spoke about in the show notes, but if you have any thoughts or questions, drop me an email, lulu@whistledown.net. The Lulu Podcast Turning Points is a Whistledown original. Our producer is Faye Lyons-White, so follow us on Instagram and TikTok at the Lulu Podcast. And of course, don't forget to rate or review us wherever you get your podcasts. Oh, just before I go, let me tell you about an amazing new podcast from Whistledown. It's The Power Sisters. They're Rachel, Elaine and Caroline, three of the sassiest, most single-minded women you'll ever meet. They're old school friends and mentors for life. And they're so funny.
I mean, money worries are difficult
when you
in a
can't
relationship.
pay the bills, you cannot have a healthy relationship.
Shall we take away your salary? My mother is, of age, and she's still looking.
Yeah, your mum looks
gorgeous.
amazing.
Where are you going? I said, I'm recording a podcast. Oh, yeah, you, Auntie Rachel, trying to be famous.
Yes, we're not trying. We're not trying. We are.
I said, you're rude. We're not trying.
Welcome to the Power Sisters.
That's Power Sisters. Listen to them on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.